Today on the podcast, on Subject Matter Expert, we have Dan Staton. You may know him from ElkShape. He's the founder of ElkShape. He's a coach. He's a lifelong bow hunter. ElkShape is a leading elk and hunting fitness platform. You can find it on YouTube. They've got around, you guys are at around 134,000 subscribers, if I looked correctly this morning. So a nice big audience over there. He's coached thousands of hunters on year-round preparation field performance. Dan's got a master's degree in exercise physiology. He's owned and operated CrossFit Spokane Valley for over a decade and competed as a CrossFit athlete. He's served as a brand ambassador for companies like Wilderness Athlete, Montana Knife Company, and Black Rifle Coffee Company. And earlier in his career, he helped launch Train to Hunt, blending competitive fitness and backcountry skills. Today, his mantra is separation in the preparation, and that anchors his work across coaching, camps, and content for elk hunters. Dan, so stoked to have you on here.
Look at you. That's a legit bio read, man.
I like to do my research ahead of time. I want you to know how excited I am that you're here. So I did the deep dive. I was listening to all your podcasts. I'm giddy. So
well, I'm honored, man. Honestly, we've known each other a while, and I think it's really cool what you got going on here.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into it. I mean, you're somebody that we've talked a little bit about fitness in the past, just kind of talking shop before. And I'm somebody that's pretty new to elk hunting. And by new, I mean, I've been on one elk hunt. It was fortunately successful. And I have not had the opportunity to go out and get after elk again. I'm up here in New Hampshire. So I've been putting in for a moose tag every year, but that's a lottery. You've got to be a little bit lucky for something like that. So I haven't had that, but that one elk hunt that I went on, just completely, I became infatuated with it. It's completely different than deer hunting. It's completely different than antelope or any of the other types of hunting that I've done in the past. And you're somebody that's taken that and made it your profession and blended fitness with that. And so I guess I kind of want to start off with a story from you. I've listened to a few of your different interviews in the past. You've been on some tough hunts, man. Like, I think that you're somebody that doesn't get scared with a steep mountain climb with a little bit of elevation gain on the first day of a hunt or the second or the third day of a hunt. What's the toughest, most physically demanding hunt that you've been on? Anything stick out?
They're all different challenges because, there's all those variables. Weather can be, depending on the time of year, but it seems like as of the last 10 years, man, there's some hot days where you're just losing water, losing salt, losing electrolytes, getting cramped up, and your backpack doesn't feel any lighter on day 10, as opposed to day one. But they're all hard, especially the public land kind of stuff where it's just a general hunt. Anyone who has the tag can be there. Those elk are pretty hip. They're pretty educated. They know the game. And then, you're competing with other hunters or other predators, honestly. And so they're all hard. But to answer your question, the hardest hunt was a wilderness hunt in my home state of Washington. Currently, I live in Idaho, but I grew up in Washington State, and I drew a tag in the southeastern corner. Pretty coveted tag. I've never had the tag again. Like, it's a pretty tough tag, and it's a wilderness, and we did a good job. Like, we scouted it hard in the summer, and we used horses to get in there and to set up a camp. And I know that from the time the hunt started till the time I actually got my bull was about 14 days of just being in there.
Wow.
And there was some adversity, like half the unit caught on fire while we were there. So of course that was the half of the unit that we had scouted and where we had set our original camp. So they had hot shots jumping out of planes to put out the fire, and some forest ranger dudes rolled in on horseback and said, "You've got to evacuate this, right now." So I didn't know if that hunt was over or if what we could do, but we found out we could come into the southern end, which was like a 3-hour drive all the way around to get in. And then I think it was 18 miles on a horseback ride to get into this new area. These were not my horses. They were a friend's. He was with us. he was nice enough to call for me. Great elk caller, vocalizer, makes the bugles, the cows, the calf sounds, and that you need that a lot of times. Like especially this is timber country, and this is archery, so we're going to try to be under 40 yards. And I'll tell you this, I can kind of condense the story down to his horses got colic on the mountain. They got sick. He needed to take them to the vet. We were already committed to the hunt, and he said he'd be back in a few days. And of course, as soon as he leaves, I kill a bull. And we are 18 miles from the truck. And it's just me and my dad. And my dad's probably in his, I would say he's probably in his mid 50s at that point. And we were like, well, damn, I guess we're packing this thing out on our back. And there was no trails nearby or anything. So we bushwhacked miles and miles, 2 trips each, ran into a marijuana grow operation in the middle of the wilderness. That was scary. I didn't have a handgun on me, man. Like I had nothing. I just had elk quarters on my back, and I was exhausted. And this was a pretty sophisticated, like, grow operation in we didn't know it at the time, but basically it'd been busted, but they never did cleanup. So it looked active, like pipes coming out of the creek, fertilizer bags by the hundreds scattered everywhere, plants still in the ground. We should have grabbed some, man. I don't know what we were thinking. And we just like, I don't know, that pack out about killed us because we got in there with horses, and we thought for sure we were going to have horses for the pack out, but we did it ourselves. The pain's a distant memory. But way back in the back of my mind, I still remember at a few points I was just like questioning like my sanity. I'm like, why am I doing all this? Is dumb. Like I should just go buy beef at the store. You know what I mean? So that was one of my favorite
easier ways to put food on the table, but not necessarily more rewarding ways. So 18 miles from there. So you've got to do that there and back twice. So am I doing my math right here? That's a 72-mile pack out altogether.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yep. And to back you
Holy
up, like
cow.
I made a video on YouTube a couple years ago in Montana where I killed a bull solo, and I killed him that evening, and I hiked out with no meat on my back. And I got up to that bull the next day really early in the morning, and I just vlogged, hey, I'm going to pack this elk out today. And I literally packed from like as soon as it got light till I was packing the last load in the dark. And I just showed folks on the video, like today I did 33 miles, all with meat on my back, you know? And so like, now that would have been cut in half if I had a partner, but I was solo. So yeah, I think guys don't maybe understand, like you got to have some big mile days if you're going to get that precious protein back to the truck. It's very much a marathon, literally. So,
and that's not that kind of mileage, to put that in context for people. We're not talking about unweighted flat ground here. This is, you're going up and down through this. This is rugged terrain. Like you said, there's no trail. You're bushwhacking. And on top of that, like, I mean, I know it's not uncommon when guys are packing out that they're putting between 80 and 100 pounds on their back on each trip.
Yep.
You know, I mean, depending on the size of the bull and all of that. But this is not something that's for the faint of heart at all, or the faint of legs. You got to have some quads.
You got to have a strong back. You got a good midline. Trekking poles are really helpful for 4-wheel drive. Typically, like this last season in 25, when I got a bull solo in Montana, by the time I got him broke down into all the game bags, all the meats off the animal, I had all my hunting gear with me, man. So like my pack already weighs 45 pounds or whatever. And I just told myself, I'm like, man, you need to take out as much as you can tonight, because this will be the best you feel. Every time you come back for another load, you're going to feel a little shittier. So I remember that I put in all the loose meat, and then a big rear quarter plus all my gear. It had to be 120 pounds. I think I stopped a double digit times just to like sit on a log, try to get the weight off my shoulders. I didn't even have
get the blood back going, flowing in a
It
Yeah.
wasn't even that far, Marty. It was like maybe 3 miles one way to the truck. And I rolled into camp at
Hmm.
about, I want to say it was like 1 or 2 in the morning. And it was early October and it was like the first freeze of the year that night. Thank God. So that's good for the meat. But like, I just
Yep.
dumped everything, threw out a canvas cutter, all bloodied up, and I just jumped in that thing and just trashed out. Woke up the next morning and there was like a layer of frost on my boots, on my canvas cutter. But I was pumped that I had gotten a lot of the meat out in the first trip, even though it sucked. And then all the other trips were
And,
easy.
and you just reminded me of something that I think a lot of people, it's something that I didn't realize. Cause again, the biggest, prior to the first time that I shot my elk, the biggest thing that I'd ever killed was a deer,
Right.
right? Like that's the largest game that I'd ever taken. And, dressing a deer is relatively straightforward. It's not that bad. You're really just gutting it and then getting it out of there. Right. And a lot of times a deer, you can drive pretty close to where you're going to, be picking the animal up, all that sort of stuff. One thing that surprised me with the elk was because of its sheer size, man, it's a physical event in itself just to get that thing broken down. And you're kind of getting a lot of the way through the butcher. You're not just gutting an elk, you're getting a lot of the way through the butcher because you have to be able to pack it out. So you've got to be able to get that thing down as far as you as condensed as you possibly can. And that's not the work hasn't even begun yet of packing it out, and you're already spending some calories, right? Like you've just come off this hunt to get the animal. Now you've got to break it down, get it in its game sacks and or meat sacks, all of that, and then walk it out. It's any of these events by themselves would probably gas most people. Like most people might get through just the stalk with you, right? Some people might be able to get through breaking this animal down. Some people might be able to do the pack out with you. I don't think there's a lot of people out there like uninitiated to the world of backcountry elk hunting that could get through an entire elk hunt with somebody like you.
Yeah, I think they would be surprised. It's daunting. It's a mindset. It is going to tax you in more ways than one, and it's really this kind of the idea of being in the mountains where you're the away team. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have home field advantage like the elk do. They live there, man. That is home for them, and something wants to eat them every day of their life. As far as I know, nothing wants to eat you and I right now at the moment. We're not being hunted. In my studio, I got a refrigerator full of awesome food that's 10 feet away. I got running water. I got a comfortable couch. Like, we got it good. And then you kind of flip the script and you go to their home field advantage and you're trying to thrive in the mountains. Not, I don't like to survive. I want to thrive up there. And so, yeah, like,
Yep.
yeah, it's a reality check of kind of how good we have it when you're up in those mountains.
Yeah, that's a good distinction to make, that survive versus thrive, because if you're just surviving up there, you're not going to be in a position to be able to make a very accurate shot with a bow, to be able to stalk within, like you said, 40, 50 yards and then deliver an arrow on a very intimidating animal that has to be lethal. You're not going to get a second shot, not typically, right? Like that has to be lethal. And so if you're just surviving up there, you're not going to be in a mental or physical state to be accurate and do what you need to do on the technical perspective of this hunt, right? And so thriving, it's like, I think about like what they tell you in the military is like when you're doing an infill to a target, you're doing these long movements, you still got, when you get to the objective, you still have to be able to fight and win.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're smoked just on the infill, you don't have a chance on
Yeah.
the objective. And I think it's very similar with hunting. I think that's why it attracts a lot of guys like, Evan Hafer and Jocko Willink and some of these bigger names we see in the space, guys that are all, friends for you, I'm sure out there. I'm sure you've gotten out on hunts with all those guys, but I think there is that connection between sort of combat operations and elk hunting. It challenges you physically. You have to do all this stuff. And in your case, on this hunt that you just told us about, you also have a fire threatening you. What did that do to the air quality? I mean, it's hard enough to pack this stuff out, right? Like, was the air quality just dog shit?
Garbage, man. It was absolutely, probably took years off our life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. At the time, man, I think this was 2011, if I remember correctly, when that hunt happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to say how old I am, but I think I might have been in my late 20s, honestly, or early 30s. And um, I didn't care about that, man. I wanted success so bad. And I knew I'd got this tag that was so hard to come by. So I didn't want to squander it. And to this day, I don't think I'll get that tag ever again. Just kind of some like a really limited entry area. But yeah, the last few years has had more smokier conditions for sure. September's have gotten to be a little bit hotter.
Hmm.
You still can get a foot of snow in September though, bro. When you're elk
Yeah.
hunting. So you have to pack, and just like in the military, like they teach you probably. I'm not military, but I would assume you guys understand the level of preparation you have to go into, and know all your gear, where it is in your ruck, and then how to use it. And same with your hunting partners, even like first aid kits. Like I need to know what my partner has in his kit, and he needs to know what I have and where I keep it. So there's just like
Hmm.
I don't think you can be over prepared for elk hunting. I don't.
Well, and that's a good point. I guess there's a couple questions there. One that yeah, it could be 90 degrees, 95 degrees out there, hot as all get out, or it could be snowing, a foot of snow on the ground. So, are you having to pack everything from sort of the lightweight, like really breathable material that you can strip down to on those hot days, all the way up to, hey, I've got snowshoes and trekking poles. It sounds like you have trekking poles either way, but are you taking snowshoes with you as well to wherever your base camp is?
No, I'm not taking snowshoes, but I do have spikes that I can put on my boots and stuff like
Mm,
that. But I also pack a hot stove in the back of my truck in case I need to have a hot stove. Like it's a Peaks Shelter. It's a 4P,
hmm.
and they have this titanium stove kit that I'll load out if I need to. And yeah, I have had it snow a foot in September. Again, all the stuff that I can't control. Like I can't control the animals. I can't control the weather, the hunting pressure. Um, I feel like I can't even really control the outcome. I only can control my effort and my attitude every day.
Yeah.
And there's a
How
couple
prepared
days
you are.
where you're like, it's a challenge to have a good attitude and to smile, because
Yeah.
I think elk hunting's romanticized. Um, you know, like our mutual friend Evan. I don't know if he's done a ton of the other kind of hunting, where
Hmm.
it's backcountry, maybe public land, and good on him, because I don't know if he wants to sign up for that. A lot of it is pretty miserable. Like you're homesick. There could be days where you don't even see an elk or hear a bugle, which is
Hmm.
like, man, it's tough to stay positive and motivated. You might run into a pack of wolves and they've blown all the elk out, and um, it's it's a high risk, high reward type of hunting. I would describe it as, and I do it all. Like I'll do private, ranch, public, backcountry, front country. I just want to be out in the mountains, but I think elk hunting, generally speaking, from a media standpoint, might get romanticized, and I don't think enough people understand that there's a red pill and a blue pill, you know?
Hmm.
And if you really want to know how it is, got to go do it. And if it did suck most of the time, you weren't doing it wrong. That's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, specifically with that public land stuff, where the better in shape you are, the deeper you can go. And the deeper you can go means the harder it's going to be, the harder the pack out is, the harder the stock is, everything is harder. And yeah, I think what on some of those public land hunts, you're out there for what, 2-3 weeks,
Yeah.
just like, I mean, it's a time commitment. It's not even just, are you in shape? It's, do you have the ability to take that kind of time? For a guy like Evan that's running a company and all this other stuff, a lot of people, right? They might get 10 days that they can allocate to a hunt, and that includes a travel day on both end and,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. Whereas for some of these types of hunts that you're doing, you're much more in that realm of like, I think about Donnie Vincent a lot, like where he'll go up to the Arctic for like a month and just, hey, dude, we're just going to be here until we do what we're, until the season ends or we get our animal, and there's that takes a certain type of person, certain mentality, certain life situation, I think, right?
It does. And I love Donnie Vincent, by the way. But to your point, like guys like Rogan and Evan, and I think a lot of people see them elk hunting, which I personally love. I appreciate. It
Hmm.
helps grow the people that vote for a lot of this hunting rules and regulations that don't hunt. I'm not talking about
Hmm.
anti-hunters. I'm never talking
Hmm.
about them. They're dialed. They know where they stand and they're unified. But the hunting community, I feel like needs bigger names like that to say, hey, no, hunting, this is like, we're getting our own meat. This is cool. Like,
Hmm.
don't vote against this. Um, and then honestly, we're like Evan hunts, man, like it is probably the most highest pressure place on planet Earth as far as the actual pressure to get it done and to not
Hmm.
mess it up. And that dude's got ice in his veins, man. And I've hunted the same places he has, and I I wrestle with how much pressure is there to execute. And
Hmm.
these hunts are usually filmed, and you do not get a second chance. Like you can't screw it up. And that is probably just bow hunting in general, or hunting is like a lot of times we put so much pressure on ourselves that you know it's tough to rise to an occasion that you've
Hmm.
never to a level that you've never prepared for. Like when I was a firefighter, we'd always say like you fall back to your highest level of preparation. Maybe we stole that from the military, I don't know, but like you get it. Like that's
Hmm.
why ElkShape is so much about over preparing, because we just want to be able to have had simulations in different scenarios and not like get exposed to something that we didn't cover in our off-season prep. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? But yeah, I mean, some guys can go to public land and get it done in a day. Um, for me, I've had like I went to Montana last year for a day and got it done that one day. But I was in Idaho for the entire month of September and never got it done. And I'm actually grateful for when I get failure. Like that actually, I
Hmm.
was like, oh, okay. So now I'm even more motivated. And I already was pretty dang motivated. So failure is what drives me. And if you think bow hunting doesn't involve mostly failure, you just haven't done it long enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you bring up a good point about especially the high stakes. You have to. You're on camera. You have to make this shot. Most hunters they don't have to deal with that kind of pressure. If they miss, they don't have to tell anybody, right? Like, hell, even if you wound, you might not necessarily, depending on your situation, might not necessarily need to tell anybody. For you guys, it's on camera. It's a part of the story. It's all of that. And my first hunt was filmed too, and I had some embarrassing stuff on camera. And I insisted it stay in the final cut of
Good for
that
you.
video, because it is the reality of it, and yeah, I guess the only thing that I can think of to compare it to is that like NFL field goal kicker, that has to go out there in front of a stadium and he's got one job: kick the ball through the uprights. That's it, or a golfer or something. I mean, there's these other, the NBA player that's got to make the free throw, and it's like, hey, you've got one, there's no, all these other things. You have one job. And with these sort of high pressure hunts, it's a similar thing. If you're a guy, I can't imagine like a guy like, like Cam Haynes's stuff is so out there, so publicized. His entire brand is built around his ability to get out there and get after it. You
Mhm.
know, that's a lot. And I guess that kind of begs the question for you. Does that pressure does it take away from the magic of a hunt for you, or does it just fuel the fire?
Yeah, no, I haven't really felt that kind of pressure until I, hunted a couple places that we were talking about where there's not public. Like it's filmed. Um, if you mess up, everybody in camp will know about it, and
Mm-hmm.
you could let that affect you for sure. Um, like anything in life, I think it comes down to like what are you telling yourself? Like what conversation are you having between the ears? Because something's going on, and
Mm-hmm.
if it is self talk that is negative or doubtful, you'll talk yourself into failure. So I've always tried to get loud in my head, so to speak, and just really talk through, like, I'll give you an example. Like I would be like, who here has shot more arrows than you this year? Who has moved a barbell, hiked and ran more trails and rucked? Like, you're good to go, man. Like, you've done it. You did. The hay is in the barn. Go execute. You got this. Like, and it's not always easy to do that in anything in life, but I do
Mm-hmm.
think we got to be careful about what kind of conversation are we having between the ears, and what are we telling ourselves, and where do you get your strength
Yeah.
from?
Yeah, that self-talk is so important. And these little mantras, like for me, I'm sure you've got little things that you tell yourself, but every time I do something hard, and I've tried to infuse this with my kids too. My older daughter she's getting into swimming at a pretty high level, and she just started cross country this year. It's these things that are very individual, endurance based. Like you got to have mental resilience
Yeah.
to do these things. And I've been trying to give her these little mantras, these little things that'll keep her in the right mental space. And one of them is just this little cadence I call to myself of make the hurt feel good, make the pain go away, make the hurt feel good, make the pain go away. And I'll just do that with every step, as you're moving your way up a mountain, as you're moving through and what nasty stuff where you've got every incentive in the world to not keep going, to turn around. Do you have anything like that? Do you have your thing that you use in those sort of gritty moments? Or what's your happy place that you go to? Some people it's that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I have a mantra per se like that, but I
Hmm.
do like that mantra. It makes sense to me. Um, I just have a ridiculous desire for success.
Hmm.
Uh, and I have this confidence about the way I elk hunt because I've done it so much and I have failed so much that I just have convinced myself, whether I'm in the heat of the moment or not, is that it all can change in a second. So I can go from not hearing an elk, not seeing an elk, running into other hunters, not seeing an elk sign, but I know all it takes is a second, and for whatever reason, a bull could bugle right behind me, step out on the trail, and from what went to Mission Impossible is now on the ground, and I have a lot of work to do. And I've had that happen to me so many times, Marty, that like I refuse to let myself ever feel like I don't have a chance. You know what I mean? As long as
Hmm.
my effort and attitude are dialed. And elk season's not year round. It's only a finite number of days or weeks, and so it's a long off season. And I learned way long ago that if I don't give every day all I got, I will sit there and stew upon what if, what I coulda, shoulda. And so my new approach was, luckily I figured this out not too long ago. It's just like, man, you come back, whether you got one or not, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, did I do everything in my ability to put myself in position for success? Yes, I did. Then I don't dwell upon the past. I'm
Hmm.
moving moving forward.
Well, and that feels kind of like a good segue there. One of the things that you talk about on ElkShape is separation in the preparation. For people that haven't been following along, what does that mean, and why is that what you've gravitated toward?
Yeah, I think the mantra or the slogan or the tagline, I wanted something that was pretty obvious what it meant. You know, what does it mean to separate yourself? Who are you separating yourself from? So it was kind of a public land elk hunting approach,
Hmm.
that could be applied to all facets of life, whether it's your career or whatever. But like, how are you going to separate yourself from the pack? Um, there's a lot of human beings on this planet Earth, and a lot of people want to stand out, but they're not willing to do the work to separate themselves from the pack. And I know for a fact that I could get a message like that out to people, and I could sell hard work,
Hmm.
and I could come across authentic and genuine. And I don't think I'd seen anybody in my hunting space really talk about, like, other than ego and measuring how big antlers are, like really say, hey man, like elk hunting is my platform, but it's also my leverage. It's my purchase point to where I can make sure that I am the best husband at home, I'm the best dad at home, that I'm a leader at work, whether you work for someone or you're self-employed. And so I leverage elk hunting to
Hmm.
I make a lot of decisions through an elk hunting filter. Where like it's going to be Friday night. Have I got a chance to take my wife on a date this week? No, I haven't. Okay, I got to make that happen. I got to make, because I know that's important to her. It's important for our relationship. Have I gotten any one-on-one time with my kids this week? Not like two-on-one, but like just me and my daughter, or just
Hmm.
me and my son. Uh, how much time have I been on a screen at home when they're home? And I relate all this to elk hunting. Like I will not hunt well. I will not be at my best if I'm a shitty dad at home or husband. And so, in order for me to hunt guilt free and leave home and do the selfish pursuit, I need to look and have I filled up their love language, whatever their love tank is. My wife says words of affirmation and quality time. My kids are both just quality time. And there's a balancing act there. So kind of a long like answer, but realistically, I've found that I could leverage my passion elk hunting to make me better at life. And I knew that's what I wanted to package up and sell to other people who come to our platform.
That reminds me of a quote that absolutely haunts me every day, like haunts me. It's always over my shoulder. And it's, how you do anything is how you do everything. If you're going to mail it in on whatever, insert X, you're likely to mail it in on anything else that might really matter. You know, how you do the small things, how you do all the different facets of your life. Like you said, family, work, you know, your hunts, all fitness, all of that. If you're willing to mail it in on a workout today, you might be willing to mail it in on a hunt that gets real hard 3 days in, 7,000 feet up. You know, it's like, if you're not going to quit today, you're not going to quit ever. If that's just your mantra, if you're going to work hard every day, then you're always going to work hard at whatever you're doing. Like, how you do anything is how you'll do everything, potentially. Right. And that absolutely haunts me, because I'm, you know, extremely human. And, you know, there's things where I'm like, I don't have time for this today, or I need to prioritize elsewhere, or man, this is just a day that, you know, call it an aggressive rest day, you know, and that's, you know, that's where that little quote chimes in, is like, are you really doing what you know to be right today? Because you know, internally, it's different for everybody. You know, how much time you allocate to family, work, hobbies, all that sort of stuff. It needs to be a balance, but that balance is different for everybody. But you know, in your sort of like deep down, everybody knows what is right, what the right thing is, what the hard right over the easy wrong is, right?
Mhm. I like
And,
that. It's true.
yeah, and I mean, you talk a lot about kind of that balance between faith, family, hunting, fitness, right? Those are kind of like the big four pillars for you.
It is. Yeah. Faith, family, fitness, then elk hunting,
Mm-hmm.
then career. And that's crazy to say that, but like, man, I have quit jobs for elk hunting. I figured out a long time ago that like you can always make money. Like money is something that you can earn,
Mm-hmm.
whether you do it through your skill, your IQ, or you just trade your time. You can find a way, but like I learned that there was only so many elk hunts I'm going to be able
All right, we're back after a little technical glitch here. Dan, I appreciate you sticking around through that. And we were talking about your kind of your balance and your approach of you've turned, you know, quit jobs to make elk hunting before, and kind of balancing faith and family and fitness.
Yeah, I think I was rambling on there about I figured out that there was a finite number of elk seasons in my life, and I have no control how many of those I get. And I knew that in order to have an enjoyable experience in the backcountry, the better shape I was in, the more enjoyable it was. There's still times where it sucks, but I mean, it would suck a lot more if I was overweight, deconditioned, or wasn't mentally tough. So when I kind of started looking at elk hunting as a trajectory, because you know, I've had pushback in my space where guys are like, you don't need to be in shape to hunt elk. I get one every year. Um, that never bothered me. I was just like, yeah, you don't get it, man. Like I want to be doing this shit when I'm in my 80s and 90s. Like I don't think I've seen that yet. Like I want to be a 90-year-old elk hunter. And if it's impossible, I want to find out. But I that's the trajectory I'm after. I'd love to take my son's son elk hunting someday. And so it is a lifestyle, and it's something leverageable. And honestly, I do get a lot of quiet time in the mountains. I would say like you're in the mountains and the phone's not dinging. I don't have a notification or an email or a text. I just don't have I don't have service. So I'm like unplugged, but I'm like plugged in. and I'm now having a great conversation with the creator. I'm way more grateful for the presence. I don't have a screen in my face. And like, so I come out of September's or out of seasons just a better Dan. And my wife will notice it too, which is probably why she's a little bit more behind
Mm-hmm.
me going elk hunting. If I came home and was a total asshole, uh, she probably wouldn't be stoked that I'm going hunting again, you know. So there's some stuff there for those that do hunt to think about. What is your trajectory? What is your behavior when you come home? Are you so self-absorbed that you're not taking advantage of being unplugged and getting plugged in with the creator? There's so much good that comes from hunting, plus you're getting your own protein and you know where it comes from. So for me, it's it's all encompassing. Like it's year-round pursuit, and you can separate yourself through your preparation.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's something to that. Distance and separation makes the heart grow fonder. When you spend a little bit of time away from your wife, from your kids, you really, not that you don't ever appreciate them, but you really, because I'm sure you're 2-3 weeks into something, you're starting to miss home a little bit, right? And you come home and you're just everything, the blues are a little bluer, the food tastes a little bit better, the hugs from your kids are a little bit tighter, it feels like, and that's something. And I think that there's also something to this idea. A lot of people don't have the opportunity, often if at all, to spend time just by themselves, alone with their own thoughts for extended periods of time. I'm a big advocate of that. I mean, I'm as social as anybody. I'm a little bit extroverted. I mean, I'm started a podcast just so I can have an excuse to talk to interesting
Yeah.
people, right? Like, all right, Dan, Murphy's Law is at play during this interview. We'll, as in a hunt where not everything always goes according to plan, this podcast is proving to be somewhat similar there, but we'll overcome and keep this conversation
No problem,
rolling.
man.
I forget where we just left off at now, so I apologize to the people listening to this, are like, these guys are jumping around on topics, but I don't think it's a bad place to pick up at. You've kind of talked about all these different places about how elk hunting has influenced your life. I mean, is there like a sort of a bigger message there about how elk hunting specifically has changed your life? I mean, you kind of came in as, you've been very successful in the fitness space. I know you've mentioned in other interviews that, you could have went and become a strength and conditioning coach in like the NFL or something like that, right? But elk hunting is the path that you chose. Is there other ways that elk hunting has changed your life? Like, how influential has this been for
Yeah,
you?
probably surprising, like ridiculously. It's consumed me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my personality, though. I will say, like, not everyone's going to be like me, but I'm all or none, and it's a strength and it's definitely a weakness. And so there, balance is important. I hear, but yeah, elk hunting is definitely something super special in my heart, and I just want to put that message out there that you can find your version of elk hunting, whatever that is, and then if you have
Mm-hmm.
something that drives you and motivates you and fires you up, you jump out of bed for it every day, man, consider yourself lucky and don't squander that opportunity to leverage it and make everything better in your life and all those around you in your life better. So, super simple message, really.
Mm-hmm.
Insert whatever you want. My version of it is elk hunting. So,
Yeah, it's got a way of humbling a person too. And there's a few different things out there that you can do, but the more you can be humbled as a person, you tend to be a better person overall. And I guess speaking of being humbled, you've had some pretty significant injuries over the years. Have you ever had an injury that forced you to miss a hunting season?
no, but I've had some bangs and some bruises and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
no, I thought I was going to miss in 2009. I thought I was going to miss that season. I had torn my ACL competing at exercising,
Mm-hmm.
aka CrossFit. But I had surgery scheduled and was able to rehab it on my own and canceled the surgery and successfully had one of my best elk hunting years. But I will say
Oh,
that
wow.
not getting the ACL surgery did finally catch up to me. It was about a year ago. I got it. I went 15 years without one, and then I knew it was kind of time. Like it was starting to get in my way again, and through age or whatever. And so I went and got it fixed, and that was my obsession last year, was just to get ready for another elk season. with a new ACL. It
Hmm.
worked out really well. God blessed me with an awesome surgeon, an incredible physical therapist, and I just inserted my work ethic. And honestly, I felt great this year. And the first test was when we got an elk on the ground in September, and I had to pack it out. I was like, all right, well, let's see what we can do. And it's been awesome. I
Hmm.
do feel like I'm close to 100%. So it's been about a year. And I'm glad I got to go through it because I think I'm able to help other people. A lot of people get their ACLs torn. And I've gotten a lot of direct messages and emails about it, and been able to kind of like encourage people. So, God will use you in whatever you're doing if you allow him.
Yeah, and I suppose with kind of being able to plan it out, and knowing about how long an ACL recovery takes, you're probably able to time it to make sure that you're coming off that in time for elk
Oh, yeah.
season.
There was some thought in there. It was pre planned, it was premeditated.
Yeah, I think that's the first time we met in person. Maybe was you were just coming off of that surgery. I
Yeah.
want to say, or maybe you were just coming off the rehab. I want to say you were in a boot though the first time I met you. Does that
Yeah.
sound right?
I think, yep. I came down to the Western Hunt Expo last year on crutches. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
That's
just
right.
had surgery, and I don't know what the hell I was doing. I should have stayed home. That about killed me walking a trade show floor all day. But I had
Hmm.
to, I had obligations. But yeah, I do remember meeting you then and there. And, fast forward, I think we came back down to Black Rifle HQ and shot some content. And I remember working out in the gym just a
Hmm.
few months later, no crutches.
Yeah.
So the human body, so resilient.
Yeah, and you were out at TAC there
Yeah.
at the Staccato Ranch, and I mean, nobody would have ever guessed that you had just had a fairly major
Yeah.
surgery. As far as something that'll impact somebody's ability to be physical.
Yeah.
You were getting around just fine out there. I mean, that's not the most arduous TAC course in the world, but you were getting around just fine.
Yeah. I loved that event, by the way. Like, that's one of I've told the guys at Black Rifle, like, that's like my favorite thing you guys do, bringing the vets in, getting them bows in their hand. I
Hmm.
know what archery can do for anyone, not just hunting, but just archery alone. It's so
Hmm.
therapeutic. I'd probably shoot a
Yeah.
bow every day of my life, like forever and
Hmm.
ever. Even if like it's terrible out here, I have an indoor setup in my basement in Idaho. Like, I shot arrows last night at 8 o'clock at night, and
Hmm.
it wasn't even that many, but it was just enough to like give me a little Zen moment.
Yeah, I'm exhibit A as far as the first bow I grew up hunting, but with a rifle in eastern and western South
Yeah.
Dakota. Bow hunting wasn't real big back then. Around then, I think it's gotten more popular in South
Oh,
Dakota
yeah.
since then. But back then, everybody was a rifle hunter. There was a couple of people maybe that you heard about that hunted with a bow, but they were in a very small minority. And so I'd grown up with a rifle in my hands, and the first time I ever picked up a bow was at Black Rifle when they had a sort of like a program for employees to, if you wanted a bow, they'd give you one. And I got this, as far as first bows go, this nice PSE like carbon bow that was incredible. And that's what I shot the first thing I ever killed with a bow was a deer. But that was that thing, like you said, that power to change people. At the time, I was living a pretty chaotic life. I was running Coffee or Die for Black Rifle. I was going around and embedding with the military around the world, traveling constantly, doing these like very high stress things, plus running a team of at its peak about 32 people. And it was a lot. As soon as I picked up that bow, man, because you have to concentrate on everything that you're doing with it, all that outside noise goes away. And it became a habit for me to where I set up my own little 3D. As soon as I moved to the house that I'm at right now, I've got the room now to be able to I set up like a little 3D archery course out there. And even if it's just going out to, get through one quiver and that's it, go back inside and that's it for the day, that's enough. It really is. And I know I'm not the only one. The fact that they put bows in as many hands as they did, as many as the uninitiated as they did, it brought a lot of people into the sport. And yeah, I mean the trajectory, I almost exclusively hunt with a
Yeah.
bow now. It's it's changed the trajectory for me as well. So yeah, it's a huge thing, and you're one of those guys that's an advocate of it, and I'm sure there's people that have come into the sport because they've stumbled across your YouTube channel or your podcast or some of the things that you're doing and decided, yeah, maybe I should go down to the bow shop and get fitted, see what this is all
Yeah.
about.
Just go try it. Go down to a bow shop, no
Hmm.
obligation. Let them know you want to just shoot some arrows. They'll set you up, and
they're those people at bow shops, they're the biggest advocates of the sport too. They're going to be stoked that you're in there as a complete sort of newbie that's just interested, because they want to spread the
Yeah.
sport too. They want to sort of spread the gospel. So I want to talk a little bit about exercise here too. You've got a master's in exercise physiology. You've competed at pretty high levels. What's the sort of single fitness variable that is most correlated with success in the backcountry, the type of hunting that you do?
It's probably not that sexy of an answer, bro. It's continuity.
Mm-hmm.
If you get in elk shape and then you get out of elk shape, it is such a yo-yo. It's so hard. It is make life easier on yourself, man. Stay in elk shape year round through continuity.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as what it takes to get into elk shape, that's going to be different for everybody. Like, it depends on your age, your fitness, resume, your genetics, your lifestyle, that kind of stuff. But I think we all could agree
Mm-hmm.
that the lowest common denominator is consistency. That will get you
Mm-hmm.
that trajectory that I spoke about earlier for multiple elk seasons, Lord willing. And you won't have to like really go up above and beyond or out of your way. You'll be ready year round. And I think that's so important, to be limitless in the mountains and be ready year round. You'll feel better. You'll probably perform better at work. You'll be a better version of yourself. You'll be a better podcast host. All that kind of stuff. Like, whatever it is you're doing, you'll do better. There's no downsides to being fit year round.
Mm-hmm. And that takes some of the pressure off of the upcoming hunting season. If you don't have to get in shape, you're just in shape already. And I'm kind of curious, for somebody like you literally have it down to a science. Are you the type of person that builds your training around a sort of schedule to where you're tapering for a hunting elk's opener, the similar way that somebody might taper for a marathon or something like that?
Yeah, no. Elk hunting's just zone 2 cardio for life. It's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're literally just walking around all day with a backpack on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that complicated. And I only add rucking and I sprinkle it in maybe a month or two prior to season, because I already get backpacking in. Like, I'm hunting in the spring for bears in the mountains, or I'm scouting for elk in the mountains and putting trail cameras out. So I don't actually dedicate a lot of time to rucking or sports specific training. I just do like a general physical preparedness, well-rounded stuff, and sprinkle a little more rucking in. I work out consistently year round. And then if I'm leaving for a big long elk bender, like 30 days, 40 days, I'll work up until the second I leave. Like, I'll do a workout the day I'm leaving. I'll be sore going into the mountains or whatever. But no, honestly, elk hunting is a break. My workouts are so hard and consistent year round that, like, when I get to the mountains, like, I'm like, oh, I'm easily prepared for this. This is fine. This is almost just like active rest.
I think that's a good way to put it, that just long-term endurance, that zone 2, that I need to be able to go walk for 72 miles with 80 pounds on my back. You're not sprinting, you're not running hard or anything like that. You're not doing repeated lifts, but as far as those specific exercises, when you're putting together programs for people, getting into elk shape, is there specific lifts or movements that you tend to gravitate toward? I mean, I imagine deadlifts are a big part of it, and things that things like a clean and jerk or something like that replicates some of the movements you do when packing out an animal, or are you not trying to replicate movements, but you're just more of that general physical preparedness of like, hey, if you're strong everywhere, you're going to be fine?
Yeah, more the latter. Push, pull, squat, hinge. That's your, so pulling can be deadlifting, can be rowing, can be pull-ups. Pushing can be sled pushes, bench presses, strict presses, handstand push-ups. Squatting is squatting, hinging is truly like Romanian deadlift. All those just basic total body movements. If you do stuff that we program, every day's leg day, which kind of sucks, but it's the truth. Legs feed the wolf. So we don't really segregate or separate body parts. Like, not a lot of like bodybuilding or like we are doing chest today. Like, no, man, you're doing a total body movement program. And uh, yeah, I found that general physical preparedness seems to lend itself the best for all the stuff the mountains can throw at you because you are walking, you're hiking, you have a ruck. Sometimes you're hiking fast with lightweight. Sometimes you're hiking super slow with a lot of meat on your back. You might be hustling up a mountain to cut off a herd of elk. You might be hustling downhill to cut off, so it's dynamic. And I would appreciate a program that exposed me to a lot of different things so that I was well rounded. And maybe you're not like the world's best exerciser or hiker or endurance athlete, but you're okay. You don't suck at anything. You have strength, you have endurance, you have a good strong midline, you have good volume of oxygen that you can take in and consume and utilize. And um, to me, it makes more sense to just be like, jack of all trades, kind of good at a little bit of everything, very few weaknesses. I think that would be ideal for the mountains.
Yeah, and then you kind of layer in diet, right? Like I'm sure that's something that you get into because, hey, I imagine the leaner that you are, the more efficient you are up in the mountains. You don't, if you're carrying extra pounds that you don't need to be, that aren't on your back, that aren't an elk and aren't your equipment, you're just making life harder on yourself. How much do you go into diet and sort of that preparation of making sure that you're the most efficient version of yourself for the mountains?
I mean, it's really lifestyle at a certain point where you got to decide, do you want to eat for performance and recovery, or do you want to eat because it tastes good or it's convenient? I promise they're not the same. Eating things that taste good or convenient will basically screw you in the back end.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you want to front load nutrition and be intentional with what you're eating and then have a good approach. I would never ask anyone to do 100% clean eating. Like, be a human being, do 80-20. Like, if you're over at a friend's house for dinner and they're serving you and they serve something that's maybe not the most healthiest thing, don't be an a-hole. Like, you can
Yeah,
have some dessert and stuff like that.
man.
Yeah.
I went through a phase like that back in my CrossFit days. I, really bought into the paleo,
Mm,
eating lifestyle and stuff. And I think that there's merits to it. I think there's a lot of merits to a low carb way of fueling yourself. But I was that person that would show up to Thanksgiving dinner and be like, no, I'm not going to have this, this, and this because I'm on this diet. I was that cringy person that was just a vibe killer at family get-togethers and
yep.
cookouts and stuff. It's like, no, man, if you're training the right way and you're eating right 80% of the time, like you said, you can have a hot dog in a bun on 4th of July.
Yep.
You can have some apple pie on Thanksgiving. That's okay. That's not going to completely derail you from your fitness plan. And that's one thing that I don't have a lot of regrets, but I do wish I had a different mindset about that earlier on. But I like a lot of this stuff, and I'm sure you see it and you've probably experienced it yourself. When it comes to fitness, when it comes to diet, all these things, it's a journey. You don't know everything in the beginning. When you first get interested in it, it's a lot of information out there, and you don't even know exactly who or what is the best way, but you're just trying different things, and particularly around the sort of the high point of CrossFit. For me, that was like 2000. I first got introduced to it in 2008. I think I went to my first actual box in 2009. And then from like 2010 to 2014, I was in there 4 or 5 days a week, like really getting into it. And I was one of those, again, kind of like cringy CrossFitters who's like, oh, if you're doing anything besides this, you're wrong. You're leaving something on the table. If you're a power lifter, if you're a bodybuilder, if you're an endurance athlete, why wouldn't everybody just do CrossFit? It's the best thing ever. I was immature at that time. I was early in my sort of fitness journey. Same thing on the diet side. What's that sort of, somebody that was real big into CrossFit for a while there, and I'm sure you still borrow some things from that training methodology because there's some good stuff there. What has your sort of fitness journey been like? How has your philosophy towards food and fitness changed over the years?
Yeah, that's a good question. Over the whole perspective, like, I was under the illusion that I wanted to have really good aesthetics, round muscle bellies. I kind of want to look like a thick bodybuilder, and I trained like that and I ate like that. And then I found elk hunting at age 20, or yeah, age 20 with a bow. And I said, this shit's not happening. Like, I weighed 185 pounds, which is a lot for someone who's, I'm not tall, I'm 5'7". And I was just big and bulky and fluffy. And I thought I was still training for football and just aesthetics. And I changed my training right then and there. And it was a natural progression. Like, I drank the CrossFit Kool-Aid stuff. After I had a master's in exercise phys, after I'd already interned with, worked with several professional athletes in speed schools and all that shit, I got into CrossFit in 2007, drank the Kool-Aid, and ran that gym till 2019, till I sold it. So if you were to walk out here into ElkShape HQ's gym, it looks a lot like a CrossFit gym. I still think CrossFit has, like, people that shit on it. There's some stuff that it's like, I get it, but the guy who started the thing, who I don't necessarily like, I don't know him personally, but I've seen
Mm-hmm.
him say things, write things that I found offensive, or I just didn't. But it's his opinion. That's fine. We all can have our own opinions. But he did write some things like the "What is Fitness" PDF that I read in 2007 after a graduate degree in the same stuff. And I was like, damn, some of this is stuff that I've never, like, these are angles people have never really taken or approached. Like, he's talking a little bit about mathematics involved in fitness prescription, power output, defining fitness, like a true definition. And
Mm-hmm.
same with the nutrition, like the meats, the vegetables, the nuts, seeds, some fruit, little starch, zero sugar. I still remember that. But I think at the end of the day, we're all individuals and there is
Mm-hmm.
no one size fits all. And so I would never want to come across as my way's better than your way, or I know more than you do. I don't live in your body. You live in your body. You can give us the feedback on what are you eating and how does it make you feel? How do you feel like you're recovering? Have you observed and repeated your performance and your metrics? How was your sleep? What's your blood lab show? Like, there's more to it. It's as deep as you want to go. And I don't think anyone has the magic answer for everybody. So I think the responsibility should be on our shoulders to figure out what works best for us.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you just did kind of a core memory unlock for me. That What is Fitness PDF. I vividly remember now getting the What is Fitness PDF and then this big Jim Jones PDF that was floating around in sort of the special operations circles.
Yeah.
And I think I still have like a folder of those printouts somewhere in my office,
Yeah.
probably in some file box somewhere. But yeah, I kind of completely forgot about that. There was some really good stuff being circulated back then. Like you said, defining things that had just never had a proper definition to. And yeah, that's, gosh, it's not that long ago, but it's a long time ago at this point. We're in 2025, man. Like,
Yeah.
that's almost 20 years ago.
Yep.
It's crazy to think. Well, speaking of time, and as we sort of wrap this up here, looking at all these different hunts and the industry right now, both fitness and hunting, what are the changes that you're kind of seeing and forecasting for the next 5 years? How's elk hunting going to change, and how is fitness changing right now?
Yeah. Well, I'd be curious to see if the fitness space continues to kind of go down this. I'll throw a couple buzzwords out like hybrid, high rocks. I think the Spartan race now has Deca Fit, ultra marathon running. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it's going to go, but I personally believe that there's a lot of us ages 30 on up that really, post COVID, we could probably get away with training at home
Mm-hmm.
and we'd probably eliminate more excuses. And so I'm still like doubling down on people need solutions for training at home.
Mm-hmm.
Quite honestly, they don't have 20 minutes to drive to a gym, let alone back to a gym, and make sure the gym's open. There's an open sign on your basement gym all the time or in your garage or whatever. So I do think there's going to be a lot more like small communities, rucking communities, things growing, people trying to find community in their area. And it won't necessarily be inside like a box gym. I could be wrong, but I'd like to see that. I personally want to try a little bit of everything. I love trail running. I don't love regular running. So like I probably want to do a high rocks just to get experience to it. But um, I think overall fitness, there's a lot of experts out there. There's a lot of messaging going on, and it can get really confusing. And so, like, just these conversations here of like, hey, let's dumb it down. Let's distill it to what we know to be true, and then let's personalize it to the individual. As far as elk hunting goes, I don't know, man. Honestly, that's a whole nother podcast on like trying to show projections of what's elk hunting is always going to be hard. Elk hunting is
Mhm.
always going to be hard to get a tag. Um,
It's gotten more popular thanks to guys like Cam Hanes and Joe Rogan and these guys that have really brought it to the mainstream to where everybody's at least heard of elk hunting at this point. I don't think that was the case 15 years ago.
I couldn't agree more. And there's a lot of people that are upset about it.
It used to be their secret.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely understand. I appreciate it, but I've always gone back to that philosophy of like that separation's in the preparation. So you can tell everybody about elk hunting, but I know that I'm going to outwork them all and I'm going to have success. That could be a lie, but I am, at least that's what I'm telling myself. But yeah, it's changed for sure. Like the prices have gone up, the tag numbers have gone down, the interest is up there. And then there's other things going on too. Like we are urban sprawl, we are developing lands, and people are starting to get their second homes in places where maybe some guys used to elk hunt. Now they got some guy's second vacation home that he just scooped up all this land that you had access to, or the farmer you used to knock on his door and he'd let you hunt. Well, somebody knocked on his door and said, hey, I want to lease this for hunting. I'll pay you. He's going to, so that's just the world we live in. It's capitalism at its finest. I'm all about it. Like, there's people who are going to make
you are hitting so close to home right now. Like the place that I used to grow up hunting antelope and muleys, that's what happened. Hunters came in and leased it. It used to just be, we'd bring out some cookies and share the meat on the back end. And gosh, that hits pretty close to home.
Yeah, man. I literally am building a house where not too far from where I used to hunt. There's no trees. It's all houses. Like that's urban development. These guys, they monetize their land. They probably wasn't their idea. Somebody knocked on their door and offered them money. Yeah, that's just the way it goes. Like that is how this world works. And you better adapt. You better figure out, like, if you really want something bad enough, then maybe you need to lease it or find a different land, or team up with some buddies. I mean, the possibility, to me, I'm like more like glass half full. Like there's enough for everybody. But not everybody feels that way. There's a lot of scarcity, especially in the hunting space. I just refuse to be one of those guys.
Yeah. And, bows are getting better. Rifles are getting more accurate if that's your mode of hunting. There's more information out there on how to be a better hunter. Thanks to guys like you, honestly. It's, for somebody that's new into it, if it used to be you had to know a person that could kind of go out and show you the ropes. And I still think that that's very valuable. You need to have that person that can take you out those first couple times and show you around. But somebody could consume enough, online content from you and a few other people and go take a stab at public land hunting on their own. If they don't know that person, if they grew up in New York City and don't know a person in their family that's ever picked up a bow or a rifle in their life, but want to get into this, there's actually resources for that out there before. I mean, 20 years ago, it was like, if you subscribe to Eastman's or something like that, or there's a couple of like VHS hunting videos that would come out from guys and, but that was it. And those were less how-tos and more sort of thrill of the hunt storytelling, sort of stuff as I remember it. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. Maybe there was more how-to than I remember, but, it's just, it has evolved over time. And yeah, gosh, another thing that you said is I am that stereotypical guy in his late 30s who kind of came up on CrossFit and all that, like that, going to the box and all of that. And now, I built out a little area I've got a 2-stall garage. 1 stall is the gym. And I've kind of come full circle. Like I still see the value in Metcons and all this other stuff, but I'm at a place where I want to get something in every day, but I know I don't necessarily have the time to recover from an hour-long Metcon. And so I just follow a really simple 5-3-1 lifting program. It's working. My numbers are going up. I do a little bit of accessory work with that. Run twice a week, ruck once a week, and that's been good enough for me, right? Like, I'm not going to be able to go and keep up with you in the mountains doing that. I'm not going to go beat Truett on in a marathon, or keep up with Cam Hanes. That's not where I'm at right now, but there is that evolution, and I think a lot of people, if you can get to that and not sort of put yourself in a box of like, oh, you have to do this, or you have to do that, or you have to go join a gym, or go to this thing that's a half an hour away, and you're going to make excuses every morning at 4 a.m. when you set your alarm of why you shouldn't go that day. You remove that when it's in your own garage, and you have the opportunity. Man, I got young kids that I'm trying to influence. If they hear, there's sometimes they're down there, they're seeing what I'm doing, and I'm explaining what I'm doing and including them, or they're upstairs helping mom with something, but they hear dad grunting away at trying to lift something heavy off the floor, or, that's all really good stuff. But, man, you're an inspiration, Dan. I love everything that you're doing. I really appreciate you coming on here today. I hope people that haven't picked up a bow before or haven't given hunting a try do. It's the more people that understand this world, the better. And man, you've got an awesome community. And I'll, of course, link to everything that you're doing at ElkShape. You've got an amazing YouTube channel, and you've got a lot of stuff going on. Is there any place else that people should be looking to find you?
No, man, you can find us if you're interested on all those kind of places. Thanks for the time, Marty. Honestly, like, I know you had some technical stuff that's out of your control, but like, I enjoyed this conversation, and I think what you got going is pretty cool to dig in on subject matter experts. Although I'm an expert at trying hard, and that is about it. And that's what I would love people to get from this, is just try your best.
Yeah, you can't go wrong if you're doing your best every day, for sure. Well, Merry Christmas. Have a great end of the year here, and we'll see you the next time.